What's up, everybody? Just wanted to kind of break down today the second verse of City Lights. And why the second verse? Because to me, this is kind of where everything comes together for this song. You know, in the beginning, there's these poetic, hopefully, lyrics that are kind of warning against the illusions of mass consumerism, materialist society, all the things that can easily tempt us with illusions and facades that always let us down. And so there's this tension in the first chorus, and you hear these, let me find them for you, these tremolo celli. For those who do not know what trem is, it's this like it's this particular style of playing the strings that almost has this very pulsating, anxiety-provoking sound, and it's supposed to, because that's the sound. So let me find this for you real quick, and if I could actually locate, here it is. It's like very, something's coming, I don't necessarily like it. Why does it sound like this? And then we have into the drop. She says, stay away from the city lights. So right, this is kind of where everything comes together. And in the first verse, there was a bass, so you felt something, especially with those low frequencies. We don't necessarily, like, obviously we hear them, but we feel them more so. Like if you're at a concert or a club or wherever, and you feel that bass, you feel it in your chest. You don't necessarily, obviously you hear it, but it's not an offending frequency that's as easy to articulate, because you know high frequencies can really hurt your ears, so can mid frequencies, but low ones you feel it. Like everyone's like, the bass drops, you just you feel it. So you feel that in the first verse a little bit, but here there's actually two basses that come in. There's this normal bass line, you solo it, so just this kind of standard bass, kind of low, hip hop, R&B bass, almost like an 808. And on top of that, we have another bass. Let me solo it for you. It's actually called an analog. It's called like a clicky analog, like a growl bass. So this one sounds more like literally like, you hear that? It's like a growl. And you know what? My idea, I got this from, my inspiration for this particular part of the song from Spirited Away, the movie by Studio Ghibli. That it's my favorite movie by them. And to me, I'm not saying my interpretation is correct, but perhaps it's not a movie that's meant to be interpreted with dualism. Perhaps it's pluralistic, but I view No Face as consumerism, and consumerism will take whatever it will eat you. It will consume you if you let it, and that's essentially what I'm trying to say. And that's No Face to me, and it is what you make it. So we have a choice of taking what we need and warding off all illusions and excess and greed and lusts and the vanities associated with a mass consumerist materialist society. And the reason this bass, I'm going into this depth from this bass, is it sounds like it's eating you. Like it literally, especially right here, wait for it. Like that sounds like like something's literally ingesting you. And I thought it fit just so well for the theme of the song, for the correlation with the sound and the lyrics, and then the overall theme. So let me take that off solo. Everything drops, right? Stay away from the city lights. So we have the beat as well, right? And the beat, I actually was inspired by that old kind of 90s Jay Dilla swing, where it's like you can just kind of snap your neck to it. It's deep in like this pocket that it drags. also, you know, was inspired with that beat by John Bellion because he has that deep pocket sound in a lot of his music where it's dragging, it's making you snap your neck, but it's also very unique the way he does it. So this kind of gains a little inspiration from him as well. What else comes in? From the guitar. So we have the guitar, it's kind of subtle in the beginning, and then here it comes in a little bit more. And it's almost like a response to the lyrics. There's space in between, right? So I wanted to add something that complements but doesn't take away from the lyrics. And to me, the blues guitar, the licks, the riffs, they do that so well. And blues guitar is my favorite guitar. I've always loved it profoundly. So yeah, that's kind of where that comes in as well, and gives another like element to the song. You know, things are building. Okay, what's building? This. You know, now we have the drums, we have the two basses, we have all of that. So as well as the drum kit, there's this unique sound right here. It's coming right here. That hit. Let me find it. Let me isolate it for you. I love that sound. This is actually, I got from a sample pack from a producer I really admire. His name's Owzy. And it just added another element, another texture that I think it needed. And it only comes like I think every 4 bars or so. But really cool, like emphasized hit, almost like an additional snare hit or something that kind of makes you, oh, like, what is that, you know? And that's drenched in reverbs to give it texture. And what else do we have here? We have the vocal. Let me go down the vocal chain. So those of you who don't know what a vocal chain is, that's essentially all of the things that the plugins that are layered in a track, particularly right now a vocal track, that gives it its life, its texture, its frequency adjustments, its compression. I know these are like foreign words to anyone who's not into mixing and production, so forgive me. But if you are, perhaps I can share some things that I've learned. And if you're not, maybe you're just interested, it might sound like a really different language, so forgive me. So let me find, here it is right here. So first thing is I recorded into a compressor, 3-to-1 ratio with a higher threshold here. And I like this compressor by Digital Performer by Motu because it's also a visual aid. Like I get to see, you know, where everything's happening, and it provides that, which is really helpful to me. You not only get to hear the compression, you get to visualize, you know, just how much it's compressing. So that's the first thing. And for those of you who don't know what a compressor is, it essentially tames the dynamics of the vocal. If we didn't have compressors, the sounds would kind of, the vocals or other tracks would sound kind of all over the place in volume, and you kind of gotta tame the frequencies, tame the track to remove transients and to also give texture. So compressors can act just as compressors, where they you know, squash things a little bit, make them tighter, but they can also add sonic texture. So I threw another one just for that, which is the Masterworks Leveler. It's based on the classic LA2A compressor, and this gives it a texture for sure. So she says, stay away from the city light. I'll solo this. Without it, sorry. So that's the wrong track. I'm like, why isn't it playing? So let me play it with it and without it. So here's with it. She says, stay away from the city lights. Now without it. Mass-produced thoughts ignite. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it through that shitty phone speaker, but I can definitely, I can tell that there's something missing. So let me do it again. She says, stay away from the city lights. It just gives it a really nice sonic texture. What else do we have? Some Antares to give it that kind of contemporary R&B sound. We've got a de-esser, take away the harsh S sounds that really are offending to the ear. Usually around 5,500K. I use the Waves de-esser for this, highly recommended if you are into this kind of stuff. Oh, I skipped over the EQ, one of the most important parts. So I use the SSL Michael Brower EQ. It's not his, but he's endorsed it. I think they actually did a lot of work on it. So it's great. It's a very solid EQ, and no pun intended because it's by Solid State Logic. But it has this analog character to it, and I cut out, let's go just through real quick. I cut out everything below 155 hertz, high pass filter, just to kind of remove all the muddy frequencies at the bottom end that you just don't need. I've seen people cut as much as 300 or, you know, as low as 60, 70. I always end up cutting around 155, 160-ish, just with what I'm looking for, the sound and the acoustics in my room. Added some harmonic distortion here to give it some texture. What else? We have a boost. We have a boost at 12K, I think a shell filter, to give it some top end sheen and some air. Some cuts at 300 to remove some boominess and muddiness out of the low mids. Yeah, all the good stuff. Got some delay on it. That 1/4 delay gives it that echo sound, right? He says, it's hard to hear actually right there, but it's that say when the vocal's down, but it's kind of carrying over. And I did something on this song that I've never done before, and I automated the reverb at different parts of the song to fill space. So you hear that, it's very spacious at that portion of the song. And I did this because there was not only space to do it, but it just kind of fit. I don't know why. It just was intuitive, and I was like, I want it to sound more ambient at this portion of the song. And so I did. And it wouldn't have worked if I added this to the whole verse, because it would have sounded terrible and muddy, and you probably wouldn't have even been able to understand the lyrics. That's how, you have to be very selective with reverb and how much you use. But if you can use it at the tail end of something like this, you can automate it. It just sounds sick, it gives it texture. And I wanted it, and it worked out. So we have that. We already went over the guitar? I think we did. Texture of the guitar, the blues sound is here as well. Wait, what am I talking about? We're on the vocal right now. we already did that. So all this is, so that's done. That's the vocal chain. And towards the end of the song, let's fast forward a little bit because we did all those. This is kind of where it kind of like, the beat turns around a little bit. I wanted to give it a new texture and like a new, what's that, it just kind of breathed new life into the end of the song and kind of made you go, another change. So that's why I added that beat. It was actually quite a pain to chop that thing up because it didn't fit with the timing of the song, and I had to like chop it very specifically to where it fit with the timing. I even had to throw like reverb and delay on it, which sounds weird for a beat, but it just kind of worked. And what else? Oh, here, again, huge fan of John Bellion, and in his song Conversations with My Wife, there's this portion of the song where he's like yelling in response to his lyrics and almost saying these like very just different words, like poignant words that fit the song, but he's like yelling them, speaking them, and I thought it sounded so cool, so I wanted to kind of emulate it here. And if you solo it on its own, it sounds kind of bizarre. Like, listen, a huge delay on it. Like, it sounds so bizarre, but when you throw it together with everything else, it sounds really sick. So It just works. I don't. And attention, right? You hear the sweeps to kind of build up to the last chorus, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the second verse of the song and a lot of the gist of the main production elements. So wanted to share, you know, for every big project I do, an album or EP or whatever, I'm probably going to try to do a breakdown of one song that's on the album, perhaps the most popular, or perhaps one that I admire the most. Yeah, so hope you learned something. Thank you for bearing with me if you made it this far. And if you want to join me on Patreon, for as little as $2 a month, you'll get a lot more behind the scenes footage, quick clips of, you know, the mixing, production process, sound design, all that stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Thanks for being on this journey with me. Have a good one. Peace.